go like this. Because not every time it's cheaper to make it yourself. And this is the trick where you say that, oh, I spend less by doing it myself than buying it from somebody else. Are you though? Are you putting any cost on your time? I'm not, because I enjoy doing this stuff, like developing new stuff and inventing. But is it cheaper? Could you be putting that time into something that's going to make money actually for your business and just go and buy that bracket? Yes. Am I that kind of guy that's going to go and just buy the thing or just make it? I'll always make it. Always. The positioning of the guns, meaning the direction in which the guns are spraying, is crucial depending on what you're spraying. And if you're, one thing that we have noticed, and one of the trickiest things to get is staining when you have to stain both sides of a panel or a door, because you will get twice the amount of product on the edges. If it would be regular opaque paint, doesn't matter, you're going to have a little bit more product on the edge, which is actually better for the actual door or panel. But if it's stain, putting 2 coats of stain is going to make it darker. So that's why you have to make sure that you're not overspraying the edges on the panels that get stained. How do you do that? And this was something that I think, most likely other people have done it too, but I've never seen it anywhere. So as far as I'm concerned, we've invented this technique to where you're pointing the guns downwards directly on the panel, therefore putting very little stain on the edge, but it's very little on one side of the sheet, very little on the other side of the sheet, equals, using our math, to the same amount on the edges, sprayed twice. If you have debris in the product, or contaminants or small buildups, and you clog the tip you cannot even see it. It's like the tip of a needle almost. And then if you're spraying primer or top coat, for primer we have to not only change the way you position the guns, we have to change the nozzle, the tip that the gun is spraying product through. So the orifice of the tip of the gun, when you're doing stain, because it's the most liquid, it has to be the smallest. When you're doing top coat, it's like medium thickness product or viscosity. It has to be like a medium size. And then for primer, it's the most viscous, the thickest product that has the most solids in it. We're using the biggest tip. And for primer, it's one of the most important things is edges. If you don't have enough coverage with primer on the edges of panels that are to be top coated with opaque finish, you will see that you did not have enough primer. So yeah, positioning of the guns is crucial. Size of the tip that you're spraying with, it's extremely important again. Because if I were to use the big tip with a big orifice for stain, I'll just flood everything with stain. Because stain is basically water, like the consistency of water. Primer, especially the 2-component polyurethane primer that we're using, it's the viscosity of a very, very thick milk. And it uses, for each line, it has 4 individual filters. Look at this. And if you were to look at it, you cannot even see how tight they're woven. That's the last line of defense for any contaminants to go onto the product. So they're so fine that everything is going to stop into them, because they're a lot smaller than the orifice through which the paint comes out of the gun. So in theory, your guns should never get clogged because you have those filters right before the gun. And they're stainless steel filters, and these hold back anything that might clog the tip of the gun. And I forgot how small they are. I'm pretty sure that you're not going to find a technician that's going to be willing to weld two different size bolts to get an adapter for the base plate of a spraying robot gun. So it's something that I know of. I've done it because I'm used to building a lot of something out of a lot of nothing. So to me, it just comes naturally. Like I'll see something like, oh, I'm just gonna MacGyver it, right? This is what the gun is being held with onto the arm of the Cefla. So I found a screw that fits just right, and then it can be locked with the Allen screws in the back. Biggest thing is speed. You can do it now if you want it, and then cost. It just had there. I've used 4 bolts and 12 nuts and 2 washers. That's it that I had laying around the shop. So yeah, speed is 1, cost was 0. Yeah, you can calculate how much they would cost, those things, but they were just laying around the shop. Probably the big bolts, I was thinking yesterday, most likely I had them in different locations of the shop for more than 10 years, those bolts. And now they're being used on a spraying line. So this is why I would rather make them, not buy them. I'm gonna double lock it actually in place with another nut here and cut the excess away. But this is too big to go in the arm of the Cefla. I need something that's this diameter. So I'm just gonna Frankenstein a screw that's gonna be something like this. But this is gonna hold the actual whatever base of the gun, and this is gonna be held by the arm of the Cefla. And I'm just gonna weld them together and see how that's gonna go. Let's change the hats. You see, because when you own your own business, you have to have multiple hats. Literally. You have to. Well, if you can, you should. Because it comes in very handy being able to wear multiple hats in the shop, especially when you're doing manufacturing. Because yeah, ideally you would have somebody in your crew that can do welding, somebody that could prototype stuff and come up with the idea, somebody that could set up the Cefla, somebody that could clean it for you so that you just go and you use it. But no, sometimes, like, and this period now is one of those times, you have to wear all those hats. And I have to do the cleanup, I have to move it in place, I have to adjust it, I have to come up with new ways of making it work because I didn't get the proper guns for it. And yeah, wearing multiple hats makes it very convenient to move forward. Yeah, maybe slower than you would if you would have all those professional guys in your team. But hey, who has everybody every time you need them? That should do. It's perfect. Because again, this is going to be used only to determine the size of the 3D printed final arm that I'm going to be using. So it's like super strong now. I have 3 more to do like this. So this is going to go in here, goes here like this. The base goes inside here and the gun gets attached to the base. And then I have basically infinite adjustment, as I can stop at whatever angle I want and just tighten it in place. And I can shift it on the cylinder, and I can shift how the cylinder sits on the arm of the Cefla. With this little thing, I'll be able to determine exactly the positions of the guns so that I can measure after that to make my first 3D printed bracket for it. That's exciting. Hey, hey, hey! So the oscillating arm goes back and forth on the, like perpendicular to the conveyor belt. And it goes thousands of times. And even though it's programmed with the stepper motors to not stop abruptly when it reaches the end of the conveyor belt. It's programmed to stop electronically, actually. It doesn't hit anything. So there's no physical bump that it hits, but when it turns, like it changes direction, there is slight movement. You can actually see the guns slightly moving because they're very heavy at the bottom, hanging only by those thin supports, which are pretty long. So changing in direction creates vibration. You see the little rod that's welded? It has 2 blocking nuts. Actually, it's going to have 3. And then it goes inside here. I can lock it with the Allen key in whatever angle I want, right? And then I have a second locking nut on the outside because there's going to be a lot of vibration and a lot of movement that goes back and forth many thousands of times per job. So like it goes all the way there, it stops and it comes back. It stops here, goes there. So there's a lot of doop, 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 doop. And if it's a little bit loose, screws are just going to get undone. If the bolt that's holding the gun is not tight enough, if the head of the gun is not tight enough, it will slightly move. And as I was just mentioning, the position, how crucial the positioning of the gun is. Imagine you set it up, it's all good. You run 50 or 60 panels, and all of a sudden your guns are all twisted and in different angles. And again, we're talking about, I'm exaggerating when I say twisted in different angles, but 1 degree of change in the setup is going to change how the gun sprays. So it is very important to make sure that the guns are tightened and they will not move in a 8-hour shift, because that's for how long they might be spraying non-stop. Once we're gonna decide what should be the position of each gun, if it moves by a degree, it changes the whole formula on what you're spraying on the table, actually, on the pieces. So they have to be firmly locked into position. And with the way I have it right now with 2 Allen bolts in the back, 1 locking nut that's going to help those 2 Allen bolts, plus the actual rod is being locked into the arm of the Cefla with a bolt with 2 nuts, which are going to lock each other. On stain, you want the guns to spray almost vertical, like this. Because if you spray like that, you will be applying twice the amount of stain, because we're spraying front and back on each door or panel that has visible edges. If you spray like this, you put stain. When you do this side, you apply stain on the edge. You flip to do the other side, you spray again on the edges. But by putting it this way, this is very bad actually for the edges, because you're getting just a little bit of spray. But a little bit of spray when you spray this side, plus a little bit of spray when you spray the other side, perfect. Twice the amount that you would get on the surface with stain is not good. With paint, it doesn't really matter. So all our painted panels, the edges actually are getting twice the amount of primer than the top coat, but which actually acts in our advantage, because for doors, the most wear and tear is on the edges, like drawer fronts. Every time you're touching the front, when you're cleaning the kitchen, you're always cleaning the surface and the visible edge. So having twice the amount of paint on the edges, good for opaque finishes, when you don't want to see the grain of the wood. But if you want to stain it and see the grain, doing it with exactly the same formula, it's not going to work. You're gonna make the edges way too dark. So yeah, to answer your question in a very long fashion, these will be changed depending on what you're spraying.